You're listening to WGBB, Long Island's oldest radio station. I'm Brad Nellis.
And I'm Scott Honickman.
And this is Nonsense News Nation, your news with a comedic twist.
Coming up in just a few minutes.
How smart is a smart car parked inside a kitchen? You decide.
Hashtag Me Too for a non-consensual wet willy.
Sorry, Miss Piggy. Kermit found another frog, and we have the story how.
Pastor tries out a new lethal diet of nothing. Bullets will fly and heads will roll after a tragic gamer versus father duel.
You won't believe this mid-air phone catch on a speeding roller coaster of all things.
Of all things. And KFC gets romantic and releases a dating simulator.
All this and much, much more coming up on Nonsense News Nation. Your news with a comedic twist.
Like a lemon twisting it.
So we hope everyone's doing nice on this fabulous, fantastic Saturday.
It's a little chilly out, but it's a beautiful day.
Yeah. I mean, get your summer kicks in before fall actually starts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's getting there.
It's really getting there. But before we start the show, last show we actually spoke about Pokemon for some reason, because I guess we're nerds. And for the new Pokemon game, they had something called Pokejobs, where you can give Pokemon jobs and tasks. And we asked how that do they have a 401k plan? Do they have retirement?
Are there labor laws in place?
Exactly. Do they get minimum wage? A lot of questions, not a lot of answers. But I did ask a friend of mine, Ron, who was a former Israeli soldier, and I thought maybe he would have an interesting perspective. Maybe in Israel, Pokemon do have jobs, and for America, it's a little different. So I have a clip right here of Ron talking about this before we start the actual show. So let's give a listen. Ron, the world is dying to know. You fought a few Nazis in your day, so you have just life experience.
Yeah, sure.
Do you believe Pokemon deserve to have jobs?
Really tough question, because if you're speaking about Trump doesn't allow it. But I think he really should. I think he should also break the wall to let the Pokemons inside America.
Okay.
And to let them be free and having jobs.
So you're saying that a wall is preventing Pokemon from coming to America?
Exactly what I'm saying.
So we have to break the wall so they can leave Japan and come to America?
After they leave China, yeah.
All right. It's time to Pokemon Go. I don't know where that went, but Ron, if you're listening from Israel, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much for giving an answer to something we thought we wouldn't have an answer to.
I feel like every day we're getting closer and closer to all the answers. And Ron is definitely a great step in the right direction.
Yeah, and speaking about Pokemon here, so Nintendo, they had something called a Nintendo Direct where they give announcements, and they were talking about the new game, Sword and Shield. It's 2 months away. How are you going to advertise this game?
Curry over ice.
For some reason, they thought adding a fashion segment to customize your character was enough to sell a game. A camp, something where you could camp out with Pokemon. And get this, Scott, you said it before, curry over rice.
That's the main meal you'll be feeding your Pokemon.
For some reason, they decided in this Pokemon game where you battle little monsters that it was important of all food dishes too, for you to make your own curry on rice dishes. And get this, there is a curry on rice deck, like a Pokédex.
Oh, that's right.
Where you can collect them all. Maybe there'll be special curry on rice Pokemon carts.
Maybe there'll be a curry on rice Pokemon.
Where instead of the monsters, you're just collecting food.
That's called grocery shopping. I don't need to buy I'm not buying a game just to do that.
But in the meantime, let's go to the main attraction of the show. We're going to our first segment of the show. We call it National News. We're going to go around the nation here and see the latest fails. So I got a good story right here. So in typical Nonsense News Nation fashion, our first national story comes to us from the depths of, get this, Florida. It's always Florida. What are they doing?
A lot.
Oranges, the elderly, Disney World, and crazy stories. That's what you get there.
And hurricanes.
So whilst the state could be a fun place for oranges and the elderly, it seems that there's always some sort of hurricane warning every other week. Fearing that Hurricane Doreen would damage his smart core, it's my accent, smart
Is that
car.
his water bottle?
A Mr. Patrick Eldridge used his smarts to park it in his kitchen. You heard me correctly. He parked his smart car in the kitchen, or as they may call it in Florida now, the edible garage.
The edible garage.
Well,
Take a
I think it
bite of
makes
this asbestos and insulin.
it was actually parked in the garage, but since Eldridge and his wife didn't want to clean it, they settled for the kitchen as a shelter for their little clown car. So, because of maybe possibly some laziness, of they didn't want to clean out their garage, they decided to park it in the kitchen, which doesn't seem very lazy. If you have the effort of parking a vehicle into a room in your house, you could probably move a few boxes.
I don't think effort is also maybe the right word. Maybe just the barbarian strength to put your vehicle inside your kitchen.
They just wanted to be on the news.
Well, they
Wait,
got their
do you
wish.
think he carried it over his head?
Yes, he took it. Remember that episode of Drake and Josh? He took apart the car and then put it in his teacher's classroom, part by part.
I don't.
That's where my mind went.
Okay.
Great story,
That's
Brandon.
possible. I mean, it's not like these smart cars are very big.
That's true.
So you might be asking yourself right now, if their garage is a closet and their kitchen is now a garage, where are they going to cook? Where are they going to eat? Well, they actually just cook around the car. It's just like a little obstacle that they move around.
It's
Think
like
of
a
it
centerpiece.
like another table that you have to work around and not bump into. That's all. And since the car only takes gas, they don't have to worry about feeding it. That's nice.
Anyway, I think if you're done here, Brandon, I'm gonna move on
Scott,
to my.
it's all you. Please
it's all
do.
me. Thank you.
Go for it.
Thank you for that story. As children, we all did silly things to gross out our friends. Am I right? Am I wrong? We all did silly, chaotic things.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny it.
You're not going to deny it.
I have some regrets in life.
You were a child. There's no reason to regret that. Today, we are adults who act civilized and have long since put our childish behaviors behind us. However, under the right circumstances, our primitive childish behaviors may yet again surface, and by right circumstances, I mean being drunk. A Florida man...
We have to go back to Florida.
Back-to-back
this is national
Florida.
news. We can go. There's 50 states to choose from. We choose Florida.
It's just a plethora of stories.
We just
there.
love the swamps.
That's sure. A Florida man, you already know where this is going, has been arrested for assault. A drunk Joseph Sarecci was jailed last month after reverting to his childhood instincts and giving his girlfriend a wet willy. He did not hit her. He did not wrestle her to the ground. He simply wet his finger with his own saliva and then stuck it into his unnamed partner's ear.
In case you didn't know what a wet willy is.
I have described in great detail just now what it is. It's something only a child or a drunk person would do.
A drunk child it would be the first thing that they'd do.
Be the first drunk child. He has since declined to give a written statement, but he has denied that he was intoxicated, which I think is worse, because now you're saying you're sober and you gave a wet willy. Now you just look like an idiot, an even bigger idiot.
He looks like an idiot, but definitely not a sex offender. Given a wet willy, it's a dumb thing.
Hashtag me too.
Hashtag me too for this
for the wet
poor
willy,
partner who is wet willy. Yeah, and do you have to sign a waiver for your next wet willy? No one likes a wet willy. That's what Buford the bully does when you don't have $4 in change to give to him during lunch
Phineas
period.
and Ferb?
Yeah. When you don't have enough money,
Algae.
you get a wet willy. Thank goodness it wasn't a swirly. He would be locked up for the rest of
jeez.
his life. Let's be thankful that it was just a wet willy.
If that was a swirly, his girlfriend would be in therapy for many, many years.
Oh, and a purple nurple on a girl. I don't even want to think about that.
That may be sexual assault. But
That
anyway.
may actually be sexual assault. So that was your story, Scott.
Yes, it was.
That was national news. Take a bow, everyone. You did great. And by everyone, I just mean me and you, Scott. We did good.
The buddies.
All right. So
The boys.
So we had national. It only makes sense that we expand our horizons for our next segment and go to international, where we go around the world, across the globe, look at the latest fails, because sometimes there's not enough in the US of A. So our first story right here, it's a very personal story. I'll explain later. So for my first international story, let me give you a scenario here. So you go on an airplane. Expect an easy, painless flight. Suddenly, you notice the person next to you is dining on a can of baked beans. 2 minutes after engulfing the beans.
The whole thing?
The whole thing, yeah. It's beans. Unless you want to donate the rest of the beans to needy children, you're going to eat them. So after engulfing the beans, the person rushes to the bathroom, ready to unleash, in quotes, a beast. Only for the bathroom to unfortunately be occupied.
Oh, no.
With no other option, they go back to their seat. By the way, the seat that you're next to. You decide to take a nap to pass the time. Before even hitting your REM cycle, imagine waking up to this sound that I have right here for you. I think that's from Ned's Declassified. There's a kid called Toot Toot that's known for his flatulence. Can you imagine someone on the plane, like, the baked beans are so strong that they have to say toot toot when they're toot tooting.
At that point, you have to open a window. I don't care what happens next. Open a window.
and open a parachute, because you may be flying out to get far, far away from that obnoxious odor. So in the U.S., we may laugh at that. We may chuckle. Heck, we may even give a little tee-hee thinking about such a silly scenario.
A little toot might come out. How hard we're laughing.
That could present a problem, because in Kenya, there is a lawmaker who isn't very happy and does not take it lightly. So one lawmaker proposed a plan to put an end to windbreakers' plight. When questioned with what on earth can you do to stop these gaseous goons, she proposed this. We need special training on aircraft crew so that they can provide medicines like bicarbonate, there we go, of soda to passengers after meals and drinks have been served. We should also have paramedics who are trained in basic first aid included in the international and local flights. She described that the longer the flight, the more dire the problem. She actually went even further to suggest reduced alcohol consumption on flights, as there may be less of a chance of people to cut the cheese, if you catch my drift.
Well, you really can't prevent it from happening. I mean, maybe you can lessen it, but this is a natural human bodily function. You can't suppress it.
There is a bathroom if it gets out of hand. If you're watching Cars 2 on the plane, and of course baked beans is the ideal snack for it. So if you have to let something out, the bathroom's always there.
And you know firsthand.
I know firsthand. I do have a little bit of a story. So just like that scenario of the baked beans, I was on a trip to Florida to visit my grandma, and I started to feel bad for the cows and the pigs. I had some sympathy for animals for once.
But he's not vegan.
I'm not. So I had a veggie burger. I guess I watched a documentary about slaughterhouses, and I felt bad that day. So
I watched Barnyard.
I
had felt bad.
Yeah. So I had a nice veggie burger, but unlike most other veggie burgers, I may have some carrots, some peppers, some tomatoes. It was riddled with beans. You had some guac to spice things up, but it was a bean salad. It was not a veggie burger. So I engulfed it, like in that scenario, and I didn't feel much, except when I went to the actual airport. I won't say much. It won't be too graphic, but a beast was certainly unleashed. A monster.
The beast.
A murderer. A demon. The worst thought you think of came out of me. And I moved on. And on the plane, it came back.
Struck with a
you know what?
vengeance.
If this lawmaker heard my story, it would just add to her cause. And that's all I have to say for
Thank you,
this.
Brandon, for that disturbing but yet funny story.
I appreciate it. No problem.
We're going to go to my international story now. I have two of them, but I'll do one at a time here. Nonsense News Nation is about to embark on a journey. We are going to worship Jesus Christ with all that we have. But I don't think it would be a good idea to worship him as much as one South African pastor did. 44-year-old Alfred Nudlavu died of malnutrition after trying to emulate Jesus Christ's 40 days and 40 nights fast. After 30 days of his fast, the pastor passed away. He was alone in the wilderness when a passerby came across his body. Police say that he was dead before he was even taken to the hospital. Nudlavu was described by relatives as someone whose faith could move mountains. Maybe in heaven he'll be climbing mountains with Jesus.
Yeah, there's a reason why Jesus didn't stay on this earth for too long. Because maybe there's more food up in heaven.
More baked beans to eat.
More baked beans, more airplanes to fly in.
More chances to embarrass himself on public radio.
It's what we do here. So, I think that was definitely, I guess, unwarranted. We know Jesus. We love Jesus. He did some good for us.
Of course.
You don't have to. There's there's something called a healthy diet.
And there's something called unhealthy diet.
Yeah, fasting. And that's what it is. You could take some carbs out, maybe eat less meat. But to have no food.
No food. 3 days. That's where my mind went. Yeah,
that's just crazy.
It is a little.
All right,
so
crazy. let's get a lighter story here.
Please.
That was a lot to take in. So let's lighten the mood here. So for my next story, you've heard of a frog marrying a pig. You've all heard of that story, right? I mean, if you haven't, check this clip out.
Do you, froggy, take this pig to be your lawful wedded wife until you die?
I do.
Then because you share a love so big, I now pronounce you frog and pig.
That pastor can sure spit some bars. I just like him going, until you died, to the puppet. The
As
frog
if
puppet.
Kermit's gonna die.
Yeah, and it brings a lot of questions. What would his death look like? Could he die? Is his stuffing actually blood?
Yes, it is.
Would we need a Build-A-Bear employee to be a surgeon if things ever go bad?
We need more fluff. Stat.
Sir, I make minimum wage. Will you pay me enough? Will I get paid to do this? Son, Kermit's a national treasure. If you save Kermit,
You will be a national hero.
we'll give you Miss Piggy's body. Just save Kermit.
Oh, wow.
All right, so anyway, yeah, you've heard of a frog, Kermit and Miss Piggy. It's classic. But in Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, it's a little bit different. They don't do frogs and pigs. It's a little bit more normal there. In an effort to please the local rain god after a long drought, 2 frogs were actually wedded. The reception, I must say, was hopping, as the hip froglets would say.
The hip frog.
The hip frog was probably say that. The cake was fly flavored, just
Delicious.
so fitting, and the honeymoon looked a little bit like a game of Frogger. So while amphibian fans rejoiced with the news of 2 wedded froggy French kissers, I come bearing some unfortunate news.
They were divorced.
Spoilers. The rain that the region experienced from the frog wedding was massive. The love was too strong. So once begging for a drop of rain, the Pradesh people got more wet than a moist sock in a water park. Because of this, they did the unthinkable. As you said it before and spoiled it for everyone, they divorced the 2 frogs.
No.
Listeners, if you want to tune out of the show now and take a cry break, Scott and I won't judge you at all. I think Scott wants to do that right now.
I need a moment of silence for the frog's divorce.
Well, here's hoping that Miss Piggy has another shot at winning over Kermit.
Oh, I hope so.
All right, so I think we got one more story.
We got one more international.
All right, check it out.
Now, if you're anything like Brandon and I, You hate it when people tell you to stop playing video games and find a quote-unquote real hobby. There's nothing more frustrating when you're in the middle of a game and someone, especially a parent, is yelling at you to do something. Well, one young man from Karnataka, India, was fed up with this happening and decided to put a stop to it once and for all.
Gamers unite.
Gamers unite. Well, not all gamers would approve of what this man did. 25-year-old Raghever Kumbar beheaded his father.
Oh
and then
my goodness.
Cut off his legs.
Oh God. I'm laughing because if I don't laugh, I'll cry. Continue.
Sure. According to a police official, his father had repeatedly advised him not to play PUBG, a popular video game that Raghuver played frequently. The murder comes after Raghuver's father had shut off their internet connection and also confiscated his phone. What Raghuver did after this was he gathered his father, his mother, and his younger sister, put them in a closet, locked them up, then took out his dad, beat him up, and then beheaded him.
And then gave them the link to his Twitch live stream.
He live streamed it.
All right, hello gamers. I got
My dad here.
I got my dad here as a special guest. He's not very good at PUBG, but you know what? He may help me beat a new record, and we're gonna try it out. So, Dad, can you just sit right over there? All right, son. I told you not to play this game. All right.
What are you doing?
And yeah, I won't say the rest on radio here.
That was one of the more brutal stories we've ever reported here.
Yeah, so let's lighten up the mood with our next segment.
Fail.
We're going to give the latest fail and foolishness. So what's our big fail today? Well, on this planet, we can't really give such big a fail, but maybe from outer space there could be something. This is where this ties together. So with today's modern technology, it seems that the sky is the limit. In this case, an asteroid hurtling down from the sky may actually be our limit. When NASA detected a 5-meter space rock skyrocketing into our atmosphere, they did what they always do best, and that is absolutely nothing. I swear NASA has been poor these recent years. They deemed it too measly of a threat to affect us and dismissed it. Later on, as it was landing near the Caribbean, it burned up and produced some say energy equivalent to, I don't really know, 3,000 to 5,000 tons of TNT, give or take.
That's pretty sizable.
Yeah. Thankfully, there are actually no casualties or damage that has been reported.
Oh, it landed in the water, you said, by the Caribbean.
By the Caribbean, yeah.
Brandon, many whales were killed.
Many pirates were killed.
No! Arg!
I hope it was the Caribbean and not the Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Walt Disney World, where a lot of people probably were. Jack Sparrow, above you! What? What's going on, mate?
Billy Bush.
Shiver me timbers! What's that? So
Scurvy.
One thing's for sure. The next Pirates of the Caribbean movie will most likely incorporate space somehow now.
Yes.
Just like Ice Age did.
Star Wars and Pirates of the Caribbean will cross over.
Thank you, Asteroid. You inspired a lot of people. So we're going to move on from that, go right on to our next segment, our sports segment, Spastic Sports. And for this segment, we don't go over the latest stats or who's dating who in the NFL. We're talking about the really crazy stuff. So let me begin. So when I say the word hero, what do you think of?
Smash Brothers.
Of course you do, my nerdy friend. A firefighter, a soldier marching into battle, your mom, Batman.
What'd you say about Mama?
She's okay.
Thanks.
What if I told you that a hero can be found at your local theme park? This theme park in particular actually is not too local that I have here. It's in Spain. But that's besides the point. So Samuel Kempf was riding a roller coaster when he noticed that someone dropped their phone in the bottom of his car. Spotting this fallen item, Kempf joked to his brother saying, "Get ready to catch." In his own words, Kempf described the event saying, quote, "The ride started and I totally forgot about it because I was just in the moment. Because it was such a good ride, and then totally forgot about it because I was, just in the moment. After the first drop, we rose up and I just saw the phone drift across my view, so I reached out and managed to catch it. Yes, you heard me right. The man's spider sense tingled and he caught the phone mid-air.
That's insane.
Thankfully, this Jesus-like miracle was recorded via the ride's reaction video. After getting his phone back, the guy who lost his phone actually bought the video from Kempf. So as great as the story is, you may be asking why I put it in Spastic Sports. Well, that's because Kempf is actually a professional fistball player from New Zealand.
It fits.
That he's going into his championship. And fistball is sort of like volleyball for those crazy Europeans
Oh, that's interesting.
that go on the beaches naked.
Fistball. Anyway, I think we're gonna have to rapidly move on to our final segment here, entertainment, which is, oh my god, this is a rambunctious story. I want to get through it. So Brandon and I have reported about KFC multiple times in the past.
Just too funny.
From the KFC fire log, if you remember that,
Good
to the
times.
hot Cheetos chicken sandwich. The fast food chain has proven that it is not afraid to try something new. Well, now, KFC is working on its most ambitious project to date. Kentucky Fried Chicken will be releasing a video game. What type of video game, you ask? It is not a cooking simulator. No, it is a dating simulator. Developed by PsyOp Games, I Love You Colonel Sanders, a finger-licking good dating simulator, is going to be released on Steam for free on September 24th. Let's quickly talk about this here. KFC releasing a dating simulator. Are you
You're
kidding
paying
me?
with your pride. You're not.
You're not.
You're not paying with money. It's just your dignity.
I think so. You play as a young culinary student being mentored by a young and handsome Colonel Sanders. While looking for love, you must also focus on your studies and graduate your class
And
on
maybe a
time.
little bit of chicken.
And maybe have some fun along the way too. So I think that's all the time we do have today. Unfortunately, though.
This is great. So we'll probably talk more about it next show.
Yeah, definitely.
And we are on SoundCloud, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, just about everywhere. So check us out
Thank you
on the
so much for
interwebs.
listening.
Yeah. So if you want to sponsor us or be a guest on the show, we have nonsensenewsradio@gmail.com. That's our email, nonsensenewsradio@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our show. We'll be back September 28th for more Nonsense News Nation goodness on WGBB, Long Island's oldest radio station.
Station.
Stay tuned.
Bye-bye.